So, yesterday, a ruling came down out of the courts of Australia in a case called Tickle versus Giggle. CEO Sall Grover of female only social media app Giggle was sued by a man who calls himself Tickle. He claims that he was unfairly discriminated against on the basis of his so called gender identity. In this case, Sall was ruled against by the courts of Australia. The courts of Australia assert that this man is, in fact, a woman. He was excluded on the basis of a visual recognition, noticing that he is indeed a man. Now, this is a problem for women, girls, and all humans for multiple reasons. One, it is saying that women do not have the right of consent. We don't have the right to single sex spaces and sports away from men. And ultimately, the biggest problem that I have with this is that this is telling all of us that we do not have the right to rely on our own primal, honed, evolutionary sex recognition instincts. Every single animal on the planet has an instinct for sex recognition, including humans. This is a millions of year old instinct, and it is one of our primary safeguarding instincts, our ability to recognize sex. Now, in this video, I'm going to refer back to a video that I made over 3 years ago, in which I was warning about this. I was warning that culture is being groomed to deny these instincts. I made a video that I called Brenda is a sheep, but it is in fact I made a video called Brenda is a wolf, but it is in fact based on a video called Brenda is a sheep by Morag Hood. And I'm going to show you a little clip from that.
Brenda is a sheep by Morag Hood. These are sheep.
Yeah, those are sheep.
This is also a sheep.
No. No.
This sheep is called Brenda.
So, Brenda's a wolf. That book, scarily enough, won a Book Bug Award in Scotland and was passed out to all primary one students throughout Scotland by the Scottish Book Trust as part of the Book Bug initiative. So this book was sent to all that grade level in Scotland to read and to absorb. Throughout that entire book, and you can refer back to my original video about this book, throughout the entire book, Brenda is never accurately identified as a wolf. Throughout the book, the behavior that Brenda displays, the way that the sheep respond to Brenda, all of these behaviors indicate very strongly that the obvious that Brenda is indeed a wolf. But throughout the book, kids are gaslit or groomed to deny what they see and observe. They're led to deny the visual aspects of Brenda as a wolf, and they are also led to deny the behavioral aspects of Brenda as a wolf. On the back of this book calls it a delightful twist on the classic wolf and sheep's clothing. But it's really hard to believe that this is in earnest, again, because Brenda is only ever referred to as a sheep throughout the entire book. Again, there's no reference. There is zero reference ever made. The word wolf never appears in this book. So the reason this is such a problem and why I did my original video about it is because it is grooming kids to deny their primary instincts. They are being led not to trust what their eyes see, their ears hear, the behaviors in front of them. They are being led to deny these things. This is a safeguarding failure. This sets kids up for future predation. When kids cannot trust the signals of their body, of their own body, they are much less stable in the world around them. They are much more rather able to be preyed upon by others who want them to deny the signals that are happening to them. If we cannot trust the signals of our own body, we cannot be alert to danger when it arrives. This is why I always use that classic story of Little Red Riding Hood. In the Little Red Riding Hood story, she meets a wolf. Now, in Little Red Riding Hood, her instincts are actually working. Unfortunately, she rationalizes herself out of the instinct. She lets the wolf, in that case, rationalize her out of them. She says to the wolf, what big eyes you have, what big ears you have, what big teeth you have. Her senses are accurate. But she allows the wolf to talk her out of her own senses. He uses rationalizations: the better to see you with, the better to hear you with. And then, of course, he eats her. Now, in that story, she comes to consciousness. The wolf, the woodcutter, cuts her out of the wolf's stomach. She comes to consciousness, and in the next part of the story, when another wolf comes to her, she traps that wolf. She learns her lesson. The lesson being to trust your direct sense perceptions of reality, not to be groomed by the charming stranger. Now, I am telling this whole story of Brenda is the Wolf, Little Red Riding Hood, to come back to this case. What this case is doing, Tickle versus Giggle, is telling all of us that we are not allowed to trust our direct sense perceptions of reality. Amnesty International today made a post, and here is what their post said. It says, Roxanne Tickle has won her discrimination case against the social media app Giggle for Girls, which blocked her from joining on the basis of being male. This is a step forward in ensuring transgender women are not discriminated against on the basis of their gender identity. And then it has an image which shows the app, which says just females. And it says, good news, transgender woman wins discrimination case in landmark ruling. And notice the image that they have here, this image of the woman in the app. I notice that they have decided not to share the image of actual Roxanne Tickle. And they don't share it because, as you see, it would be obvious that this is a man, and a somewhat scary looking man at that. So this is, again, we're meant to deny what our eyes see, and Amnesty is not even showing us. They're showing this image of this woman to build on our sympathy, to get us to have some sort of emotional response for a poor woman who has been excluded from a woman-only app. Now, when we look at the picture of actual Roxanne Tickle, we can see, Jason is his actual name, by the way, we can see, looking at Jason, yeah, there's a reason why he does not belong in women-only spaces. And that reason being that he is a man. Just like Brenda is a wolf and not a sheep, Jason Tickle is a man and not a woman. Although this particular case is about female-only spaces, it has implications that are much broader than that. When we are looking at a case like this, I don't want anyone to be confused that this is simply a women's issue. This is much bigger than that. When the Australian government creates a ruling that says any man can self-declare a new identity and access women's private spaces, women's sports, women's shelters, women's hospital wards, women's locker rooms, all of these things. When the government tells you that any man can legally turn himself into a woman by creating documents and self-declaration, this is a problem for all of us. It's not just a woman problem. It's not just a woman's private spaces problem. It's not just a woman's sports problem. This is an everyone problem. This is coming from the top down. The government is telling everyone you are no longer allowed to assert that a man is a man. You are no longer allowed to trust the signals of your own body showing you the obvious. You're not allowed to state the obvious. You're not allowed to call a man, and you're not allowed to treat a man like a man. You have to go along with his delusional declaration about himself. This is gaslighting on a massive scale, grooming on a massive scale. And this isn't just an Australia problem. This is an everywhere problem. As I showed you, Amnesty International is supporting this. That is a major NGO. It's happening in America. It's happening in the UK. This is happening in the US. This is being pushed by the United Nations into all 193 member nations. This ideology is a mind cancer. It's an ideological cancer. It's a secular cult religion that is being pushed on all of us, and all of us who are thinking rational people need to push back. This affects us adults, but it impacts our kids as well. All of the kids who are coming up need adults who are willing to stand up, be clear, fight back, and say, no, men are men. Women are women. I don't care how anyone internally, mentally conceptualizes themselves. I am going to stay grounded in my adaptive instincts. Every single other animal on the planet teaches their young to stay grounded in their adaptive instincts. There are mimics in nature, okay? There is the Satan-leafed gecko who looks like its tail is a leaf. Now, if a bird sees it and thinks it sees a leaf, it will pass it over. But as soon as it moves, as soon as that bird recognizes, no, that's not a leaf, that's a gecko, it will eat it. Or let's say there's a bug. If the bug sees the leaf and goes towards it, that gecko is going to eat it. But if the bug identifies, oh, that's a gecko, it's going to flee. Animals are constantly trying to subvert false mimetic signals and stay grounded in their adaptive instincts. Humans are the only animals on the planet stupid enough to tell themselves and their young to deny the signals of their own body. Okay, and this is dangerous. This is a safeguarding failure. Our kids deserve adults who are willing to stand up and say no. And that is what I urge you and everyone to do. It's what I'm going to keep doing myself. Thank you. Bye-bye.